Hello, everyone, and welcome to From Darkness to Love and Light. Today, I have a special guest that I had the privilege of meeting actually at a local little coffee shop called Shady Grove Lukaya Cafe. And I go there fairly often, and it's just such a cool little shop. The vibe there is just unreal. And so this one day, the owner, Julie, says to me, "Oh, we have a tarot reader coming like next week or something like that." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to go. And so I had my granddaughter with me, and we went and we had a reading with Vivian, and I was just like, "Oh my God." There was this immediate connection that I can't even describe. And it was just so incredible. It just was fantastic. So we chatted a little bit this morning before coming on and starting to record, because Vivian identifies as they, them. And I am almost 61. I'll be 61 on Saturday. Not that, not out of ignorance or disrespect, but I find I get confused as to know what to say. I mean, there's somebody in our family that identifies the same way, and we kind of get held up with the proper way of addressing people, and it's really not that difficult. Like I said to Vivian, "Well, what do I do if I say she?" And she's like, "Well, you could just say they right after." And I went, "Oh yeah, I guess that's true. It's not that difficult, is it?" But I think we're just worried about making saying the wrong thing or what have you. And so this is something that we weren't planning on talking about, but this is part of who they are. And so for that, I welcome Vivian to the show, and here we go.
Hello, hi. Thank you so much for having
Hi.
me.
Oh my God, I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm super excited. I'm now a little bit nervous. It's so funny.
I know. We were just chatting so easily before, and then all of a sudden now you kind of like, okay, we hit record. Now it's like serious business, right?
That's okay. We will blow through it.
We totally will. Don't even worry about it. And the other thing too, with what Vivian is, she also is a psychic medium too. So this is all part of what we had her cards pulled at the cafe. It's part of what she does. And so she's going to explain all that. But essentially, we're going to talk a lot about how she got from this point. They see, I just did it again.
Yeah, no, but so honestly, so they are, and we're just gonna go with it and just go with ease and allow yourself to be open to practicing, acknowledging, and shifting and moving. Okay, it's gonna be
right.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because you just don't want to be so disrespectful. That's just my worry. Like, I mean, you were brought up with manners. Be polite. Do the right thing. Sort of thing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
But so tell us about your life, how you came to where you are today. Share what you feel comfortable with sharing. I mean, we can always do another podcast if need be.
So beautiful. Okay. So, such a big question. Where do I begin with myself? So, I think what I'll start in is expressing what it means to me to be a psychic medium and what the journey, how my practice. Okay. We'll start from here. I'm just going to take a couple deep breaths and ground in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm an individual who has been in recovery from some pretty heavy abuse consistently through my life, stemming from childhood just to the way that oh my God, yeah, I'm choking. That's so funny. Maybe let's start with a lighter. That's so funny. I'm sorry.
You know what? It's totally okay. And that's part of the reality of life and part of this whole process. And I think that like when we go through I remember talking about like my childhood and the trauma that I had or whatever. And I would just talk to somebody about um, like a certain part of my life, and I would start to shake and I would start
Yeah.
freezing up. And so I get that. I completely get that. And that just is saying to me that you're maybe not ready to share this in this format right now, which is totally fine.
Actually, I would love the opportunity to move in the discomfort of things. And I think I'll start with just my experience. And then as things
Hmm.
flag up, maybe I won't
Yeah.
put the shovel in so deep at the beginning.
Yeah, honey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I'll start like from 16, like just like my general life resume. And then
Yeah.
we'll tap into like little trails and stories that come up as we
Abs-
go.
Absolutely. Let's just let it flow as natural as it's
Yeah.
meant to flow.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that space.
Oh, no
Okay.
problem, sweetheart.
So, when I was about 18 years old, my family kind of made the decision to sell our family home. And we all kind of separated at that time. My mother moved out to Wallaceburg, which is 3.5 hours away.
Hmm.
At that time, we were selling the home. My stepdad was struggling with alcoholism pretty heavily at the
Hmm.
time, and made the decision to admit himself into a rehab out in London, which fueled the decision so we could sell the house. At the time, I was engaged to marry someone that I had known for about 2 months.
Oh, jeez.
I know. Tinder, man. Don't
Yeah.
do it. Don't do it.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
um,
Gosh.
so, yeah. So we got an apartment together. And my younger brother and his partner at the time, we all moved in together. I was a part-time cashier at Freshco
Okay.
at that time. And I was like, well, I'm getting my own place. Probably going to have to make some more money, pay my bills now that I have. And so I was working at Tim Hortons, Nations, and
Hmm.
Vivian Rose, juggling those jobs.
Right.
Throughout that connection, so I basically, yeah, I guess this is how I came to discover what it is that I needed. Because when you are someone who is kind of forced into the real world and life from a very young age, you're
Yeah.
kind of like on your own. You got to like figure things out and pave your own way, and to find a life that would be able to like satiate me.
Yeah.
I got into university when I was 17 and wasn't able to attend due to just like the circumstance, the way things were at home at the time, and myself.
Right. Hmm.
So yeah, I set off into the workforce. And then from there, I ended up going to a local smoothie shop, Green Bar.
Hmm.
I ended up becoming like assistant manager in like the first 3 months of working there. I was about 19 at this time, which
Oh,
was like super
wow.
exciting. And that kind of like began like
Yeah.
my career in like corporate. It would turned into a career of corporate management after. I
Wow.
bounced around. So
Yeah.
then I went to Value Village and managed there for a while. Decided to make a shift when the pandemic hit to go work at Starbucks. From there, I was having trouble making my rent, so I
Hmm.
had offered my landlord a deal if I could like take care of the building for her and to like kind of like make up for the rent that I was missing. She
Right.
was also a realtor and had offered me a position to do like her cold calling to make up
Hmm.
the difference. So I would do that from like 8 to 12, and then I would work my little barista shift, my closing shift.
Right.
From there, she offered me a full-time position that led to us working pretty closely together. Yeah, which was crazy. So a whole year in real estate, rigmarole. It
Wow.
ended up being not in alignment. I learned a lot about my life and humanity in that
Yeah.
year, in terms
Right.
of like what truly matters in like like in terms of what you're willing to go or what is necessary to make a buck. If
Right.
you want to be
Right.
successful, because I carried a big chip on my shoulder
Yeah.
about like my education, about like my status in the world for a long time. I've been paying my own bills, lived on my own. Like from that Gage Park apartment, I like when that relationship ended, I moved, got my own little like 1 bedroom. That was a whole
Hmm.
ride. I ended up moving in with another partner shortly after. That also then blew up.
You've had a lot of stuff go on. My gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy. I got engaged. I already had a failed wedding attempt. Unfortunately, also, yeah, just like even in a snapshot, yeah. I mean, I'll be 27. So it's
You
just like
still look
the
like you're
road to
19.
figuring it out, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you've gone through a lot in that short period of time in your life, and to be able to sort of figure out what works and what doesn't work for you is a huge step. That's a lot to accomplish in that short period, like
Yeah.
it's incredible, like
I guess all I really wanted was that safe space
yeah.
and like to create a home, right? And in my ever
Yeah.
like, and it was same with my career. I just wanted a life that I could be proud of, where
Hmm.
I was happy.
Right.
And I just constantly found myself in positions where the more I learned from the people, and I'm blessed to have been able to share these relationships and make these connections and have these experiences,
Yeah.
because I just never felt like I fit anywhere. That's the other thing, right? This like deep discomfort
Hmm.
of looking and searching for a space. This is what it is for me. Yeah. Looking for a space where I am represented, where I'm seen and I'm truly cared for. Because I felt like I kept
Hmm.
switching all these jobs and all these spaces and these relationships because I kept trying like so badly to like, I was like aggressively molding myself to fit a
Yeah.
standard, which now makes more sense to me now that I'm
Yep.
understanding who I am.
Yep.
Uh, like I was never going to fit like the traditional roles. Yeah, ever. I just was not meant to. It's not who
Right.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so safe space. I'll talk about my mediumship now, and the
Mm-hmm.
way that my practice has allowed me the space
Mm-hmm.
to cultivate and make sense of the very tumultuous and suffocating emotions that come along with these experiences. A lot of grief,
Mm-hmm.
um, a lot of shame I've carried in my life, a lot of guilt for the situations and the circumstances, for where I come from, even the home that held me,
Mm-hmm.
including my physical body and just like my familial connections as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I tried really hard to run away
Mm-hmm.
from those feelings because I honestly just couldn't face it. I just could not deal with the reality, which is why we're talking about the discomfort. And like, as brutal as this
Yeah.
is to like dive into, that's what I believe in. That was the fundamental
Right.
core and why I fell in love with tarot and like the occult and poetry. Because I always say I'm a poet
Right.
before I was a medium, before I understood where I was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
I would just sit under a tree always and be writing like in my little
Mm-hmm.
journal, and I would just have this like deep understanding of what I understood love to be and how it wasn't represented to me anywhere
Right.
that I had looked. It didn't make sense. Like I had been moved before. I had read poems, I had seen movies, I had witnessed friends in like loving connections and other like it just there was no way that was like what people meant when they said they love people. Because when you
Right.
go through like certain abuse and there
Yeah.
which is why it's so important and why I'm grateful that we're able to have like this conversation, even if there
Mm-hmm.
is like a disconnect in certain understandings, it's the open space to cultivate that kind of love and that connection and understanding like the impacts that when you treat someone a certain way, it
Yeah.
changes and like recodes their whole like experience, their DNA, their brain, like everything. And especially if that starts from a very young age and then continues
Yes.
on, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like seeking care and being like honestly blessed to receive now gender affirming care, that's been
Mm-hmm.
huge in me facing. I've endured a lot of unfortunately like sexual traumas in my life as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
That took a lot from me.
Of course.
And I perpetuated that abuse like within myself for a really long time from a really young age. And it hasn't been until like the last 4 years that I've had this space, thankfully, no matter how turbulent it is offered to me, to address those circumstances like within myself and to make
Mm-hmm.
peace with them again and build this new relationship. Okay, so now being on like hormone replacement therapy,
Mm-hmm.
I have the pleasure and the honor of like rebuilding. I'll probably cry talking about it because it's like really
It's
special to me.
okay, sweetie. It's okay, baby.
I get to like rebuild and reclaim myself in like the most whole way, and I get to be with myself from start to finish the way that I always deserved my entire life, because I've been blessed to take the time to understand my needs, what I have always deserved, to gratify the things that I have been saying and the things that I brought to people I was supposed to be able to trust and that were supposed to protect me. um, I'm able now, I've been blessed to seek those communities for myself outside of like blood or outside of anything, and to just even myself be able to articulate like what it is that I needed, you know, and like to not be blamed for it. It's just, so I get to cultivate now this whole new life, and tarot is actually what began that journey for me, that helped me start to like reprocess my memories from my youth. And it was when I would open the doors to my poetry and I would pour out these messages of deep understanding of like what my family has gone through, what my mother had gone through, what like my father, my stepdad, like I had this innate understanding of like their soul and their being.
Right.
And I was always confused about why they would treat each other the way that they were treating each other. Because that's the thing about the ego, and the thing about like addiction as a whole, it takes you away from yourself.
Yes.
And there's not, in this world, there is not the open space to have the vulnerability necessary to come up to another human being and genuinely express the way that you are suffering inside, because you don't know what you need when you're in that kind of pain. It's crippling.
No.
So of course you're going to go in this world to anything that is accessible to you, especially when care is not readily accessible to you.
Absolutely.
Like where I grew up, this was them taking care, you know, this is what they had to deal with, what they had been through, because they, and if you did like admit defeat, and you did admit, which is not defeat, you know, like it's because it's hard to accept like that you can be that impacted, whether or not the people who like loved you's intentions were there, they can't see it within themselves when they're that deep. And like we're never gonna take each other up and out of it if that's like not an option, you know?
Yeah.
So I always had this fierceness inside me that like I was like, no, like this isn't how, like I don't know how we're gonna do this, but like this is definitely not how we're doing this, you know?
Right.
So with tarot, I found that it gave me the space to sit across from another individual and to allow us to dive into those really deep, uncomfortable scenarios. And like we never had to get into the details of it, but like the memories and the impressions would come up, and it would connect me. The deeper I went into my own like reprocessing, I was able to see that in others in a sense. I would get like little movies playing of like my own like encounters with it to me, and it was how I identified, because it would be like I would feel their emotions, and then a memory of my childhood would come up, and it would be like the circumstance that like altered my experience, like the trauma. And then I would be like, oh, that's what that was, because it then reconnected me back to that feeling through them. So I'm processing it in my body in front of them, and then my gift is to be able to articulate the emotional experience in real time to pass the message through to the individual, so I can make sense of their crippling emotions. It's like I needed the individual in front of me to like mirror the shadow. So because I was only able to extend my love externally because of the codependency I faced within what I took on as like a like role, like a caretaker role in my house, in my family, and that responsibility.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Holy, you know, like, yeah, I don't even know what to say. Like, cause it's so much, like, it's incredible. Like to be able to look at it in that respect, you know, like, and to be able to move forward from it in the way that you did, like, amazing.
It's to make that kind of peace in the grief, and why I like so love like shadow work, and where tarot allows me to take like an individual soul is that I actively work to create a safe, what a safe space means is that like you're honored in your entirety, in your whole, in your entirety, to the best of ability and the best of like your awareness. And so when we open this conversation, and you're going to be faced with some really uncomfortable truths about like yourself and behaviors that you take on, a lot of the time we do embody the traits of our abusers. And how else are you going to break the cycle of like, if you are not allowed the compassion necessary to witness why this is happening in your life, why you engage in these behaviors, these activities, where that's coming from. You deserve love. You deserve compassion regardless.
Right.
At any time to unwind and be able to release and create the space for you to live your truth, to have access to your truth, to know that you are loved and you are worthy of an entirely, like, to understand that, like, there is a life on the other side. Because, like, I myself have struggled and felt very defined and very, like, held, like, I was captive. I was, like, paralyzed for years on end in different circumstances to be able to, because the thing for me is, like, if I knew, I wouldn't have fucking done it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I had been aware, then I wouldn't be acting like that. So it's not until my behavior is brought to my face, and I always learn the hard way. So it's usually pretty brutal how I become aware.
Oh, great.
It's
Couldn't
like,
take
hello,
the easy road, could you?
Of your own actions.
But I know, and it's like sometimes you wonder, like, why, but it's all part of the process. It's all part of what we have to go through. It's our journey of what we're supposed to do here, like, and I mean, sometimes our chosen path is not that easy, and sometimes it's really not easy, but we get through, we fight through it, and we make our way. Right?
I work really hard. So in my practice, I just like to shine, like, the blessing and, like, the honest gift. It's like, as like fucked up as that is, like, given the circumstances I have to go through, I genuinely see my life as a gift at this point, and understanding, like, as brutal as it has been to, like, gain this knowledge and to receive this position and access within myself, like, I couldn't have done it without those encounters in my life. And, like, to know that, like, I have the capacity to look at these events and these people. The thing is that I would see that love, and I would think, if I loved them more, that was, like, the abuse of, like, not understanding the value of that kind of care,
Right.
So it's always a gift, because I know that people now who are open, this is why boundary work is important, right? In your healing, and, like, knowing that, like, you as an individual need to be ready to begin a process of opening and unfolding, because it's consistent and it's hard, it's uncomfortable, and it needs to be, like, it's an active choice every single day.
Yes.
It's not just, like, all love. Like, it's actually brutal. A lot of the time it's, like, very heavy, and it's often, like, I'm up, I'm crying, I'm happy, I'm elated, I'm sobbing, I'm, like, shaking. Like, it's just this crazy everyday roller coaster. But a gift that I'm able to articulate it, and then others now who see that, if I'm able to offer you that space when you come sit for me, and we can dive into how you can empower yourself through seeing the strength in bearing such an experience, and allowing the integration to come from the emotional experiences of acceptance. Like, that's the radical acceptance. Then you take that, and you genuinely, it feels to me like you get gifted the space to continue to pursue your heart's passions, because then you're supported from it, and you've let go, like, the shame, the guilt, like, the self-worth issues, like you're no longer defined or chained to any circumstance. So to now come back to my gender journey, and why I think it's lovely that we have this conversation, is that anytime I'm still building that connection, like, with myself. And anytime there's, like, that much of, like, a rigid wall between, like, something as simple as, like, a pronoun, because it challenges your entire history and your experience, and that's just in the ego. It's not, like, in your heart. I believe, like, in truth, it's just what you've been told and conditioned, and same, and, like, that's, like, been a part of, like, the big journey is figuring out what is your truth. Like, it brings me back to, like, this body practice I did, where I looked in the mirror. Like, you look in the mirror naked, and, like, you scan your body, like, objectively, and then you see what words and reactions come to mind. And for me, I was first hysterically laughing, and then I started bawling my eyes out, and I was like, oh, because I realized in that moment, all of the harsh things I would say to myself in the mirror that were, like, pretty rude didn't come from me. That wasn't my voice. It was abuse that had been perpetuated onto me. I actually think I'm, like, soft and sweet and beautiful, and, like, all this lovely, and I got to create the space in my body to explore that. to explore that and like
Right.
embody that without shame. So it's like just so many layers. So
Yeah.
it's not about how you, if you view me as like a woman, if you view me as a man, like to your definition, your experience or your encounters like with yourself on those planes, it
Mm-hmm.
matters that you're willing to sit in the discomfort of what that means about you as an individual when you
Mm-hmm.
get that uncomfort, like, oh, I don't want to say the wrong things, so I'm not going to say anything at all. Like, no, like, let's like, I'm opening up my life to you and like offering you to be a part of this experience with me as like a whole
Right.
and
Yeah.
grow as an individual in your own right, in your own way, and in your own connection with me as a human being.
Right.
And like the language can be fluid as long as we're
Right.
coming from the integrity and the respect of like the individual that you're interacting with and not
Yeah.
telling them what they are or like that experience. It's the same thing as being gentle with anybody who's gone through
Yes.
like brutalities, and you let them
Yeah.
speak their experience. You let them
Yeah.
share why they've shed their identities and to such degrees and like the positions that they've been put in their life
Mm-hmm.
to build that love back up for themselves and to realize that like
Right.
I can be cared for. My body is worthy. There are
Mm-hmm.
bodies that operate the way that mine do, and I don't need to be dissociated from myself to these degrees. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
like, not that it's a choice and it's an ongoing practice, but like having access to care and resources that help me feel seen, that are willing to explore my anatomy, that are willing to explore my true ins and outs of my entire physical vessel in
Right.
union with my mental health and my
Mm-hmm.
spiritual health.
Right.
Um, so that's really what I try to offer in my readings and my mediumship. I want to be a space where people can come because care is not always accessible
Right.
to everybody. And if I did not have my tarot as like a safe space for me to have that pure connection to
Mm-hmm.
my own intuition, to my being, to my needs. Like your body knows. Like they don't say your body keeps score if I nothing, babe. Like
Right.
it's in there.
Exactly. No, it's true. It's absolutely the truth, right? Like, yeah.
So the deeper you
Wow.
dive into it, and
Right.
why my Reiki practice is so important is that I could interpret the sensations and the energies that work through my vessel to
Mm-hmm.
articulate the need that is to come up, to then give
Mm-hmm.
my mind and my ego the awareness of where I then need to seek the further knowledge, seek collaboration, seek the right practitioners and caregivers necessary to
Right.
expunge and heal. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're so interesting. You're just so cool.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
And I think that that's the big thing too. It's like, to know I mean, I barely know you, but to when you're talking about the pronouns and to feel that, to be uncomfortable around somebody and then to avoid them would be the biggest discredit to yourself in the whole wide world, to not be able to know you.
Yeah. That's the whole
You
point, you
are
know?
you are a special gift. And I mean, I wouldn't want anybody to be fearful of not saying the right thing to you, because what they can get from you and what you can give them is so powerful.
Aw.
You are just a huge beacon of light, and it doesn't matter, you know, about anything. You're a human being with a heart that beats just like everybody else, but you are actually way more special
Oh,
because
thank
you're
you.
also like gifted in so many ways too. So yeah, it's just nothing. Like, it's just nothing. Like, don't let these fucking stupid little words get
Yeah.
you all caught up. Just let it be. And if you feel like you said it wrong, just apologize. Say, I'm sorry. I meant to say they, or whatever
Yeah. And like we
it
can
is.
unwind
Like,
like the tension, you know, like
yes,
yeah.
it doesn't have to be uncomfortable. Like, don't allow it to be uncomfortable. Like, I mean, like I said to you, like I didn't really, I guess I was so worried about being disrespectful, but I'm being more disrespectful from not even allowing myself to have the opportunity to know what to say.
Yeah,
Sort
so
of
it's
thing.
both. Yeah, and because that's so sweet.
Yeah.
You're like, look, I really would love to connect with you. I want to respect you. I want to understand you as a human being. And it's such a small ask because it's honestly the language of things and like the expansion.
Yeah.
So every time, whether you trip up, when you go she and you go they, that shows me that like you're integrating and embodying and sharing that space with me, and like you're taking that care to build that like bond, you know? And then that's so
Exactly.
sweet. And like that's your own growth in yourself. And then you find that it's so funny because like on the other side of things, you're like, oh, like that's really like that's just
That was it. That's all I had to do.
but it's like
That was
learning.
it.
That's learning in
Yeah.
general. Because it's like,
Yeah.
I may be a beginner in this space, but it's not my first rodeo and I'm here. Like I'm here for this,
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Cool. Okay. Do you want to move on to doing some like kind of like a reading thing?
Sure.
I've got my hands in the air doing like some magical, mystical, I don't dance or whatever.
You're so funny.
I know.
Here. I'm just gonna
I'm a cucaracha.
You're so funny. Okay. So we can tap in. I'm gonna take a couple deep breaths and give you. I'm just activating my cards currently. If there was something that you had in mind that you would like clarity on, or would that you would like me to tap into for you?
Let's do. How about like business?
Okay.
Am I on the right path? I guess in what I'm doing.
Okay. So immediately, what I'm feeling like to answer that, I am getting. Yeah. So like the Ace of Cups just fell out. I'm getting that it's going to be more of like an integral question of like because so with the Ace of Cups here, this is a very like heart-centered, heart-focused.
Mm-hmm.
Is the work that I'm doing paying off? Is this like the right way that I'm supposed to be going about my practice?
Right.
Okay. Let me just pull a couple for you. Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh my God, yes. Okay, so I'm going to say absolutely yes, because do you know why?
Yay.
You were putting yourself in a position where you were able to have these open, candid conversations. You are learning new positions of life and accessing new positions in your own healing. Like, oh, am I making the impact? Am I giving the care that's necessary? Am I sending the right message out? Am I making the impact that like I'm craving so fiercely? Absolutely, yes, you are. This is like, again, like when you're paving the way to healing, especially in nuanced realms and positions, you are you're building a connection that like pulls you out of your mind, out of your ego, and like you're actually like melting off so many different identities like within your own right and undefining yourself from like these traumatic experiences. You very much and why I think we connect so well and what you see here in me is that this is like a very pure expression of your soul, of your heart, and you're like, oh, I didn't know I could articulate it like this. I didn't know that this perception or this understanding was available to me. And how else would you have known this had you not set out to come see me at the cafe, right? Come open up the opportunity for us to have this exchange, this conversation. You don't ever know what it is when you get the intuitive pull. You just know that there's a love here. It's boiling up inside me. I gotta chase it. I gotta figure out how to birth this into the world. And like that's exactly what you're doing. And so with and it's honestly, and it does require a lot of faith. And you have the sun. Yeah, and it's scary. Because this is like your justice in a sense too, because you're setting this example and this tone to your own family, to the people in your life that you face, the people that you haven't interacted with. Like you're showing them actually it is a choice to heal. You can expand past these limited binaries, these limited perceptions, because I don't resonate with them. That's why I'm so uncomfortable. That's like where this depression and this grief hits me from, is that I
Yeah.
know in my bones that there is a different world and a different experience available, and what is being represented to me is not where I resonate in my fullness. And you
Mm.
have begun this journey within yourself to
Mm-hmm.
find those answers, to give a voice to others who are also on that pursuit within themselves. And through accepting that communication, and then you're changed. Like you leave, I'm leaving this conversation changed. You're leaving this conversation changed.
Absolutely.
You now have like the strength and the affirmation to live with pride and courage. And of course, and
Yeah.
you're shining so brightly and attracting so much beauty to you, that's more valuable than any like material validation
Yeah.
that you could receive at this time. But of
Right.
course, in that comes alongside with it deeply, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the power of this community, is that like
Mm-hmm.
we genuinely like are better together. And like when
Mm-hmm.
you enter these spaces to make this kind of impact, to give yourself this justice of
Mm-hmm.
knowing that you are the example of the love that you always deserved in this world. And it's hard to feel it when you're healing, because you don't get
Yeah.
to feel like what I said to you when we began this, that I didn't realize I had that much of an impact. Like, because
Mm-hmm.
you speak
Yeah.
so highly of me, and like it's bewildering to me, because I'm like, oh, like I carried like a really heavy perception of like my life and the way that I've gone about things. um,
Right.
so then to hear that I'm actually like this beautiful example, I'm like, oh shit, cool. So it was like I'm doing the right
And
thing. Like,
you are like, honest to God, yeah, you just exude so much love, so much compassion, and uh, yeah, you just empowerment. Like you don't know the strength that you give off, that you make someone else feel strong and feel loved.
oh,
Like you
thank you.
really, truly, truly, truly do give that.
That is so beautiful. Thank you. Oh,
Well, no, thank you for being you.
of course, and thank you for being here. And like that's the beauty of the mirror, right? When you
Yeah,
finally give yourself the opportunity to look at yourself in the mirror for all of your fullness and your integrity. Like, and you
yeah.
just gave me that space to see myself in the entirety, and even how messy the beginning of this felt, where like
Mm-hmm.
I was able to go through the roller coaster and experience
Mm-hmm.
active in real time the discomfort, the choking, and then allow the space to move through it somatically.
Yep.
That's why
Yep.
it's just it's so freaking cool. So yeah, you are
Yeah.
creating a beautiful space, like to
That's so
highlight.
good. I'm so like, it just means so much to me. Like I just really, really, really want to help people. Like and you're just like, am I doing the right thing? Right? Like I don't know, who am I? And I keep like who am I to be a podcast woman or whatever? Like, why can't
Why
I?
wouldn't you be? Sorry, what?
Right.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, I
yeah.
know. I know.
It's the imposter syndrome, and I feel the same way. I'm like, who am I to be offering this space to her? Like this, but yeah, like I'm me, and like my life, I lived it. I've lived it. I did it. I'm
Yes.
here. I
Yes.
am taking the action necessary.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I deserve this. It's the acceptance, right? Like, I deserve to be loved. I deserve to experience what my love is capable of creating in this world. And it's
Yeah.
actually the act of creativity, especially like Ace of Cups here, too. That's
Yeah.
a beautiful, massive, the world you build and the life and the legacy that you leave behind is at the end of the day rooted in the love that you put out,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you choose to live like a passion filled life and you go on that pursuit and you take those big risks, that you have
Mm-hmm.
justice and the sun here.
Mm.
So
So what
it's
does that mean?
that is like this is the happiest card of like the entire
Oh.
deck. Yeah, this is like
Oh,
prosperity, abundance, like
yay!
fullness, fertility. We made it. And justice
I
is
don't
like
want to
this
be
is the karma.
fertile.
This is your karma. Like you having this type of success in your life and this type of recognition. Of course you deserve it. I'm sorry. Do you know what you've been through? Do you know how hard you've worked to be here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's time to be celebrated, and like you're taking like control of that by letting go of everything that wasn't yours to carry in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's what
Yeah.
I love about grief. When you go through these like big losses, these big shifts in your life, it really, really fucking forces you to see what matters in this world. I'm sorry, I'm only here for
Absolutely.
this amount of fucking time.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hold back anymore. Like I saw the results of what happened
Yeah.
when I neglected
Yeah.
any other way. And no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And you take that stand, and that's beautiful.
You do. Yeah. And I have. Totally. Yeah. That's so cool. Oh, I like the sun is the happiest card. I
Absolutely.
love that.
I can read you. I'm going to read it from the book to you. So
That's
the
so
sun is
cool.
the center of our solar system and the source of all life. The child on the card reflects rebirth and resurrection as he wears the same red feather as the fool and the death card. He is the fool reborn with spiritual understanding and mastery. He rides forward on the horse of purity with his newfound freedom. The wall behind him reflects a barrier that has been crossed. The sunflowers represent all the bounty of summer and the richness of a beautiful August day. The sun appears to fill you with optimism and let you know that everything will be okay. Each one of us is a son of our universe, family, friends, and magic, and creativity orbiting around us. You are pure consciousness and energy. Let yourself shine.
Wow.
That's so cute.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. Oh, that's so good. That's so cool. Thank you.
Oh, my, of course.
That's so good. It just makes you feel good to know, like, that you're giving that out, and it's been, like you say, it's true. I've been through a shit ton, and I'm totally different than I was 2.5 years ago, but
Congratulations. And as you should.
yeah,
That's beautiful.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, yeah, yeah. Anything else that I need to know, or what do you think, like, that's sort of, we good with that? I think
Yeah, I
I'm
think
good
we
with that.
covered a lot. I
I
think
think we
we
did.
opened the floodgate and we
We
let it
did.
rip.
Woo!
Holy shit. Yeah.
Oh God, that was so good. That was so good. It just, yeah, I appreciate you so much being here today. I really do. I hope we helped a little bit, make people understand that everybody in this life is different and that we all deserve the respect and we are all human, and it doesn't matter what we look like, whatever.
Yeah.
We are human. We are one. We are, we all deserve love no matter what. And I love you.
Aw.
And you are a special, special, special person. And I want you to just continue to keep shining your light in this world because we need you. We need you.
Thank you. That's so beautiful. That means so much.
Honest to God, honest to God. And so if somebody wanted to book a session with you, where is the best place for them to reach you?
The best place to reach out to me would be on my Instagram,
On
which
Instagram, yeah.
is, yes,
Sorry,
it's
honey, hang
at
on.
Vivian Victor Locke _. You can reach out via DM and we can set up a time together.
Okay.
Also, I'm holding events at Lukaya Cafe on Upper Wellington
Yeah.
for the next few Wednesdays from
Oh, okay,
10
cool.
a.m. to 4 p.m.
Nice. Yeah, and if you're local in the area, oh my gosh, you got to drop by this little cafe. I shouldn't really tell people about it because it's so flippin' cool, and I like it to be just like my
I
own little
know.
place because it's so tiny and
I know,
it's
but we
like,
all got to grow together. We got to
I
expand
know, but
it.
it's like I just don't want everybody to be there. I need to have a seat.
Oh, you're so cute. You always have a seat at Lukaya. It's Lukaya.
That's true. That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. But all right, Vivian. Well, I will definitely put your information, your contact info in the show notes for sure today. And I just, like I say, I am just so blessed and thankful that you wanted to come on and share
Oh, God, of
a little
course.
bit about you. And yeah, and I'm sure I'll see you at the cafe anyway.
Oh my God, I hope so. Thank you so much for this opportunity and for bearing with me and offering me this
Oh.
space. It was a hoot and a half.
A hoot and a half. We're like little owls.
I'm done.
I don't know where these things come from in my head, but
We
they
love
just
it.
come.
Inspiration.
All right, honey. Well, thank you so much for listening today. And yeah, till the next time, we will see you again.
Sounds good.
Thanks
Have a
again,
good
Viv.
day.
Okay, you too, honey. Bye. Oops. Stop there. Stop. Now we go. There we go.